Hey guys, ArtisanTony. Where do I start? Oh, it's a cold and rainy day on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2013. And I'm trying to fix my camera. I got my camera sitting on my boonie hat. It's cockeyed. I'm going to do a series of videos while the giveaway is running. And if you don't know about the gun ban call to action giveaway, I'll put links to it. And so maybe what I'll do is just give little updates here and there, but the series I want to do is on a subject I have been wanting to do for a long time, and I haven't done it just because I've been chicken. To be honest with you, I've been worried about my views, my AdSense. You know, I've been worried about losing subscribers. And that's just being perfectly honest. And the reason is because the culture on the internet is so saturated with people who are confused about politics. And I think this is why at the root, that's the root of why most of us stay away from politics. Maybe some of you haven't been able to put your finger on it, but I think I have. There's this culture on the internet that, and you saw this during the elections. Oops, I better hurry. And I preached about this in some videos a little bit, but I couldn't get my point across. There's a culture that thinks there is no difference between the parties. And you would be surprised at how many people, well, I'm not surprised, but the results of the election show that there are many people who are confused about what liberalism is and what conservatism is. And so I would like to try to dispel some of the myths and bring to light some of the truths. And you may say, well, Tony, those are your truths. Well, no, they're not. And that's kind of the point, is that there are some absolutes in life. And what you have to do is try to separate what you think about political parties from what is true about liberalism as a culture. Liberalism as a culture goes a lot deeper than gun control. Liberalism as a culture, let's see if I can turn these wipers down because it's messing me up. Liberalism as a culture believes in big government, and that government is the solution to all of your needs. Your health care, your job, your income. If you're not making income, and you heard this during the crazy Occupy movement. Oh, we need a living wage. What is a living wage? But they just wanted to be paid by the government, for just being human. So that's the culture we're talking about. It's not, guns are just one facet of the liberal philosophy, and of course they don't believe in you having them. They believe they should be the only people that have them, and that's part of their philosophy about government controlling people. And this is not a conspiracy, people. I mean, some people take this to the extreme, regarding guns. They'll say, oh, the government's going to take all your guns. Well, that would be very difficult to do. That's the extreme. But liberals would, through legislation, love to have gun bans. They don't want to come knock on your door and take your guns because that would cause a civil war. What they do want to do is do it through legislation. And that's how we should be fighting them, is through legislation. But getting back to my main point, and I'm at Starbucks now, so I'm going to have to get my coffee and coffee cake. But my main point is that a lot of you are very tactical, but you have not identified your enemy completely. You see the enemy, but you don't know the enemy. And if you know anything about Sun Tzu and the art of war, you understand that you will understand that you have to understand your enemy and get to know them intimately. Alright, based on that note, I'll order my coffee. Anyway, back to the subject. Where was I? My coffee cake got me off the subject. Oh yeah. I just think it's funny that a lot of people in the gun community are so tactical, but yet they still can't identify the enemy. And you might say, well, you know, there are some liberals who like guns. Well, yeah, but ask them why they aren't fighting their senators in House, you know, their representatives in the House. Just ask them. Ask them why they're not voting against them. The reason is because they'll take gun control along with their free health care and benefits, other free benefits. And then the light goes off in your head, bingo. So, and then you start to realize that wow, this liberal you're calling your friend who loves guns is really your cultural enemy. And when I say enemy, I'm talking about philosophically. I'm not talking about taking up arms, because I'm a peaceful person as far as that goes. I will defend myself vigorously, but as far as taking up arms to start some insurrection or whatever, I believe in the political response or solution, and that's why I'm preaching right now. That's why I'm on my soapbox, because we have elections coming up in 2014, and I'm actually a little bit, the devil in me is happy that gun control is coming up now, because I think we will defeat it, but it will finally start to help people identify your cultural enemy, and that's liberalism. And then it's just a circular reference, and you know, we go in this big circle and we say, well not all liberals are, you know, hate guns. Well, who cares? That gun control is only one facet of liberalism. You know, do you really want your taxes to go up 2 or 3 times to pay for socialized medicine, for state-run health care? For when I say state-run, I'm talking federal, at the federal level. Is that what you want? Do you want open borders? You know, do you want loose immigration laws? And I have nothing against my Hispanic brothers. I have a crew of guys who are my best friends, who help me do framing, and I don't just hire them because they're not cheap, actually. They're not cheap at all, but they do a good job and they're quick. And I love the culture. I love the Hispanic culture of family. They're very family oriented. So don't get me wrong, but we are a sovereign nation and we must keep our borders secure. If you have a loose border, you know, then you'll have an opening for terrorists or just anybody who wants to walk over the border. This is not all about, you know, stopping, you know, our Mexican brothers from crossing the border. It's about stopping bad guys from crossing the border. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. But and I was watching a video earlier, and I like Mike Chrome Freak. He's got a video going now. But what did he say? Oh, he said, and he's the one that made me, really inspired me to do this video. And I mean that in a good way, Mike. I don't mean it in a negative way. He said there's not that much difference between the parties. He said this is not about conservative and Democrat, or it's not about parties. Well, I strongly, in a friendly way, disagree. And when we understand that, when we do understand that it's not about the parties necessarily, but those parties represent people. Those parties represent platforms. And yes, it is about liberal versus conservative. It may not be about Democrat versus Republican, but it is certainly about liberal versus conservative, because those are philosophies, they're not parties. And this is one thing that people have a hard time understanding, is those parties represent the philosophy. Okay? Now go to the root of the party. The root of the party is the philosophy. Okay? So the whole point I'm trying to make is that we need to be concentrating on defeating liberalism as a whole, not worrying, well, we need to worry about gun control. But if you get rid of the root of the problem, which is liberalism in this country, and I'm talking about politically, I'm not talking about kicking them out of the country. I'm talking about voting them out of office. Once you do that, then you won't have to worry so much. Now, you may say, well, what's the solution? Well, I would suggest that a lot of you people who call yourselves liberals but love guns, I would ask you to investigate the Libertarian Party or some other independent party. And that's, of course, all these philosophies are pretty deep, so I can't do it all in one video, and that's why I wanted to make a series. But you know, I'm a libertarian. I'm a conservative libertarian. But the main issue there is that you're going to have a hard time, you know, with giving up your, you know, your government-run health care and everything else the government wants to be in control of. I really, and I think Haas does a good job. The Haas USMC does a good job too of taking it straight to people. And I think we need more people like him and Ken Outdoors 9. So we need both of those types. We need people like Ken Outdoors 9, who is very smart and knows how to make videos and knows how to get his message across. I'm a rambler, okay? I put my camera in my dashboard and drive around to jobs and ramble, okay? What we need are more people like 10 Outdoors 9 and even Haas. If we could take Haas's passion and install it in, you know, other people like 10 Outdoors 9, Tommy, we could defeat liberalism. So I would suggest, after this whole gun scare is over, we may have some kind of legislation, temporary legislation, but I don't think there certainly, it would have to be done through an executive order. I don't see the votes in the House. Of course, they kind of played their hand a little early here, I think. Dianne Feinstein is an idiot as far as I'm concerned. You know, they should have done this through the backdoor channels. And see, that's why I think it's just posturing, because if they really wanted to get gun control in, they would have really probably done it in a more secretive way. Now I am really rambling, but I think the goal here is that if you can identify your cultural enemy or foe, political foe, then you have to go you have to get busy removing them from office. That's your task. But the biggest problem we seem to have in this country is with people from on the right side of the left. In other words, all independents and all conservatives. the left has done a good job, I think, dividing the middle and the right, and that's how they won the election. You know, you had people who were Ron Paul, and I love Ron Paul, and I wish he could have got the nomination, but he didn't. Once he didn't, I started supporting Romney, and that's what you have to do in politics. You have to. It's a game you play. It's a chess game, and once someone makes a move, you have to make a counter move, and you have to be willing to change. And if you're not willing to be flexible and change, then you're going to lose the game. And that's exactly what happened in the election. Our side was not willing to play the game, the political game, and that's what it is. It's a big game. Unfortunately, that's what it is in politics. I'm not talking about the philosophy. The philosophies remain the same. The culture of each of those philosophies remain the same. But when you're trying to elect someone, it becomes a game, and we just lost it. And so that's the challenge. You have to learn how to play the political game. You have to learn how to get your guy elected. Okay? And the way we failed was allowing ourselves to be divided. The minute Ron Paul was not the nomination, every stinking conservative should have jumped behind Romney. Every single one of them. Whether you like Romney or not, that's the game. Get your guy in office, and I guarantee you, anyone who tells you that Romney would have proposed or signed gun ban legislation is a liberal. There's not one conservative, a true conservative, who thought Romney would have signed gun legislation. So we were successfully divided, and that's how we lost the election. And so, you know, it's funny, this video, way too long, and I meant to do some of this in different parts, but I just couldn't help myself. So it may be one long video, and that may be it, but I think the solution is for now, we have to do the best we can to defeat the current legislation, and then you have to be willing to play the political game in 2014. Well, starting in 2013, starting now. You know, we have to identify our candidates, get their name recognized, and get the votes. That's what liberals do, people. If you haven't noticed, liberals know how to play the political game. They bust people to the voting booth. They have unions behind them. You know, that's why I hate unions, because it's just a big it's a sub-party of the political party, the liberal party. You know, they know how to play the game, and that's how they get their guy in office. And until you identify the problem, until you identify your enemy, your political enemy in the culture, you're never going to stop this movement towards progressivism, liberalism. Oh man, that's one thing I almost forgot I wanted to bring up, and that is this idea. That's what I almost forgot. This idea that liberalism equals freedom, that the word liberalism represents a liberal or some sort of free idea, and progressivism is some sort of idea of freedom. This is the big lie. This is the big lie of liberalism. There's nothing about liberalism or progressivism that supports freedom. Okay? It's a romantic term. I'm progressive. I'm a forward thinker. The only thing progressive about them is that they want to install government as the control of society. And that sounds conspiratorial, but it's not. It's the truth. And if you don't believe that, you'll just have to watch it happen. So I guess if you've made it this far, you're willing to stick it out for a few more minutes. In summary, identify your cultural enemy. And when I say enemy, I'm talking about political enemy, and I'm talking about philosophically, and I'm talking about voting. I'm not talking about taking up arms, because liberals have also done a good job of making all conservatives look like, you know, nut jobs, conspiratorial nut jobs. That's another thing they are successful at. That's why they are successful at making all gun owners look like nut jobs. And you see, it goes back to that game thing. You know, they play the game. They play the political game. And typically conservatives don't play games. You know, we're straight, you know, thinkers, free thinkers, objective thinkers. And, you know, we're a little bit on the black and white side. You know, we do think in absolutes sometimes, when maybe we should start thinking more like the political enemy. Anyway, I knew I would never be able to end this video, so I'm just going to do it. I hope I've said something that will spur somebody to think and ask questions and remind me, because that's what happens. I have a million thoughts running through my head at one time, and I'm bad about not being able to collect them. So if you have a question or a thought about something I've said, I'll answer it in the next video. So thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to go meet my customer.